Hi guys, welcome back to Vedic Astrology. First of all, great wishes to all of you for the festive season of Holi. I hope you celebrate peacefully as well as enjoy it with your family. Now, today I have come up with an important video on Saturn's combustion in the sign of Pisces. And this combustion of Saturn is going to be coming into play between March 7th or March 8th till April 13th, 2026. So, for the course of next 37, 38 odd days, we are going to find the combustion of Saturn coming into play. Now, let's understand, guys, what combustion means. It essentially means that the bright light that we see from Saturn in the night sky may not be visible to us because Sun is going to be intercepting, it's going to be swallowing Saturn behind itself. And therefore, its gravitational pull or its significances, let's put it in simple terms, are going to get impacted during the course of this period. The king himself is shadowing the planet Saturn. The king denotes ego, it denotes your willpower, it denotes your vitality, it denotes the governments. And therefore, some way or the other, all these areas are going to be getting empowered to take an action towards the masses. Now, this is more from a mundane astrology perspective. However, Saturn, from a Kal Purush chart perspective, talks about your 10th lord and the 11th lord, which means it talks about karma, it talks about your social status, it talks about your hard work, and thereby it also denotes the outcome of that hard work, the fulfillment of your wishes, the achievement of your goals, the financial stability that you can see. And when Saturn gets combusted by Sun, there is going to be a sense of frustration, delay. Impact of Saturn will be diminished. Now, it will have both positive and negative repercussions because for some of us, the placement of Saturn could be such that it could be causing a lot of difficulty. For example, the sign of Pisces, Aquarius, Aries, from a moon sign perspective, who are undergoing Sade Sati, will find certain degree of relief also coming into picture. And therefore, in today's video, our objective is going to be understanding that what implications are going to come into play for us. It is crucial for us to understand here that for these 37 days, there are going to be situation of clashes from your career perspective with your bosses, with your superiors, with your management coming into play. There could be difficult situations where the reward or the outcome with respect to your client, with respect to your gurus, mentors, etc., could also get impacted. And the reason that impact would come into picture is you could feel that you are getting overworked but undervalued. The second bit that we'll have to understand here is that there could be a financial impact also coming in for a lot of us. Because after all, Saturn rules the 11th house. And there could be unforeseen, unexpected financial delays coming into picture with respect to your payouts, any kind of bonuses, promotions, goals, targets, objectives that you've set for yourself, because Sun is blocking the outcome of or the significance of Saturn from that perspective. The golden rule during this period is that do not challenge authority, do not fight the king. Now, I'm not talking about absolute submission, but if you are going to be demanding recognition of some sorts, that is not going to be coming easy during the course of this period. Now, we are going to touch upon your sign and understand that how this impact can be evaluated for you individually. Aries, you can listen to this both from a rising as well as moon perspective. Of course, for Aries moon, you guys are under the influence of Sati in its first phase itself. Now, for you folks, Saturn happens to be the lord of your 10th house and your 11th house, and it's getting combusted in your 12th house of foreign losses, expenses, challenges, unforeseen enemies coming into life. And it's both good and a bad thing to happen. Firstly, from a impact perspective, what you're going to notice is that your lord of career and the lord of gains is getting burnt out in the house of isolation. And this means that from a career and finance perspective, there is a strong possibility that you could sense some degree of disconnect, attachment from your karma as well as their outcomes as well. It would also mean that from a finances perspective, there could be some bit of a relief, because now your gains or your income, which was getting drained, especially from a Sade Aries moon perspective, you will find some degree of relief coming in from that quarter. For people who are expecting any kind of gains from international customers, from foreign opportunities, any kind of foreign travel as well, you can notice some bit of an impact coming in your life. There could be an administrative delay. Sun, there could be an government disapproval, lack of visa approval coming your way, or some sort of an impact, a drag in those directions will definitely be impacting you. Since Saturn is 3 places away from itself in the 12th house, it also indicates that there is going to be considerable amount of irrelevant travel coming into life. Your efforts, though required, may not be giving you the right value. But you will have to remain patient and consistent on this front, because it is going to be a challenging period from a work perspective. Then, as we move towards the relationship aspect of things, Saturn is aspecting your second house of family. Yes, third aspect of Saturn is a challenging bit. But again, from a combust Saturn perspective, the difficult aspect will also see some relief there. You could be finding your sanctuary with your family members, with your loved ones. There is going to be definitely some bit of a frustration also coming your way, because you could find yourself emotionally distant from your work, or you could find yourself being silent in the company of your immediate near and dear ones, your family itself. This is going to be a time where you've got to be still careful and watchful of your food habits, because you could be attracted towards rich food. Excuse me. Then we have to understand here is that with the seventh aspect falling into your sixth house, as well as Saturn's presence in your 12th itself, there is going to be some bit of a health impact coming into picture. You could be impacted by insomnia, or you could be suffering from severe exhaustion. Yes, the difficult thing would be that you would feel like the candle is burning from both ends, because on one side of the spectrum, there is going to be some health issue coming into picture, but at the other side of the spectrum, you can have unexpected elevation of those problems, because your sleep cycle in itself could see some bit of a disturbance. But the crucial bit coming into play here would be that the 10th aspect is falling into your 9th house. And I would recommend you to be careful on that front, because it is again indicating that any kind of challenge thrown by your side to your teachers, gurus, mentors, professors may not get the right adulation, the right respect, or the right feedback that you anticipate to come your way. Travel related challenges, losses expected during travel are bound to happen, or delays could come into picture. Unnecessary delays could come into picture with respect to travel as well. However, if you keep your heads down and continue with your past momentum, you will still find success coming your way, because, as I said, Saturn's combustion may not be a bad thing happening in the 12th house itself. Yes, the gains, your effort towards your karma, etc., is seeing a reduction, but the negative aspects of Saturn will also see an impact. Now, the remedy or the caution that I would want to draw here is, folks, many of you could feel demotivated at your workplace. And this may not be the most opportune time to put in your papers to resign from your job, because you will feel some bit of a push, drive in that direction. You would like to take a vacation or work behind the scenes, working from home, not being very prominent at your office place. Now, this is very individual in terms of your circumstances, but my recommendation will be to push yourself harder, be perseverant towards your activities, and wait, show some degree of patience before you can see or reap the rewards of the Saturn at a later stage. Last but not the least, from a remedy perspective, donating footwear to homeless folks may be one of the best remedies that you can do, especially on a Saturday. So Taurus, for you folks, you can watch this both from a Taurus rising as well as Taurus moon Rishabh Rashi perspective. Now for you folks, the setup is that Saturn, it's your Yoga Karaka planet, being the lord of your 9th house, and your 10th house is getting combusted in the 11th house of gains, wish fulfillment, and desires. Saturn has been doing an excellent transit when it comes to you folks, Taurus. And the critical part is that your best planet, your superhero in a way after Venus, your Lagna Lord, is temporarily getting silenced by authority. From your career and finance perspective, you will realize that this could be a time where you could be doing major heavy lifting in your workplace, on any project. You could be involved deeply into the weeds of things. You could be working on new initiatives on your business, or you could be embarking on a new journey from your educational standpoint if you're a student watching this video. However, your bosses, your leaders, your superiors, your clientele are going to be taking credit of your work. They are going to be accepting the applause coming as an outcome of the effort that you're going to be putting in. Now, there is no respite coming in until mid-April, because this is a time that if you were promised any kind of promotion, any kind of financial bonus, any kind of a reward based on your past activities, it might as well see some degree of delay. There is a possibility that the outcome that you receive otherwise may be diminished in magnitude, in quantity, in numbers. You anticipate $100 and you end up making $80 during this period. So that sort of a diminished outcome is also possible, and therefore probably a delay is not a bad thing if it is happening in your case. There is a significant chances that your travel during this period, especially a long distance travel, either gets cancelled if you've been planning that for a leisure perspective, or from a work perspective, it could be marred with a lot of challenges. There could be some bit of a lack of disbelief, lack of belief in your principles. You could lose faith on your thought process as well during the course of these 37, 38 days. And my advice to you would be to remain persistent, because it's going to be a challenging perspective, situation from that perspective. Now, from a relationship standpoint, Saturn continues to aspect your fifth house of romance and children. And there is a possibility that for people who are in romantic relationships, for single folks, there could be situations of lack of communication coming into picture, misunderstanding coming into picture. If you've been planning for children, for progeny, or for the health of or the well-being of your children, you must be very careful and take due precautions during this period. There's a possibility that because of work-related stress, you could feel distant from your spouse, from your loved ones, from your romantic partner, or your kids as well. At the same time, this may not be the best period, Taurus, for you to make any kind of speculative investments. While there could be an urge for you to gamble your way to success, this may not give you the most opportune outcome. From a health perspective, you will have to be watchful on your shin related area or calf related area, because pain might be induced in those parts of the body. I would want to call out here that Saturn is giving a third aspect to your Lagna. But because of its combustion, some of the challenges that you are facing are going to get diminished. So that's a positive bit also coming into play, because Saturn's third aspect is considered to be the harshest. It's considered to be the most challenging aspect coming into picture. Any kind of sudden events that were marred in your life, like life insurance related matters, any kind of accidental situation, well, again, from those areas, because of the 10th aspect of Saturn falling into the 8th house with its combust status, you are going to find some degree of relief there as well. If you've been looking forward to materialize any kind of financial gains with respect to inheritance, with respect to shared joint finances with your spouse, there is going to be some bit of a delay, but eventually things should work out in that direction. Now, you've got to understand that from a remedy and caution perspective, you must lower your expectations with respect to rewards during this period. The outcomes that you anticipate will be diminished to a certain degree. And therefore, the other way to look at this problem is, if you were putting 100% effort for 100% outcome, push yourself for 125% effort to gain that 100% outcome. You will have to be ready to put longer hours, be more persistent and patient through the course of this period. Feed animals. It could be a dog, it could be, feeding black lentils to a cow, which could help you pacify the ill effects of Saturn and maybe strengthen that for you, because Saturn happens to be a Yoga Karaka planet, in your case, Taurus. Now, Gemini, you can watch this both from a Gemini rising as well as Mithun Rashi, Gemini moon perspective. Now, for you folks, Saturn happens to be the lord of your 8th house and your 9th house. And therefore, it is getting combusted in your 10th house of career, public fame, social respect, your karma, and your efforts. We've got to understand that there is going to be a massive friction with authoritative figures, which is coming into play in your 10th house, where Sun is combusting the Saturn. And this is a clear indication that from a career and finance perspective, Sun is burning Saturn right at your workplace. Ego clashes could come into picture at your workplace, be it your school, college, your job, the company where you work with, or your own company that you are running. You could find difficulties with respect to the authorities, with your customers, with your clients, with your bosses, with your superiors. And there could be a serious difference of opinion coming into picture, where your thought process, your principles could be in severe conflict with the management. There could be a possibility of a sudden, because it's the lord of the 8th house as well, a sudden change in company leadership as well. But that might leave you feeling insecure at this point in time. Many of you could be struggling with respect to, your confidence of whether or not you will be able to retain your job or not. Guys, this is not something to be fearful about, but to be smart in your thinking process. Because this situation, this combination of Sun and Saturn is happening in the 10th house, where both of these planets gain tremendous amount of directional strength. And therefore, diplomacy is going to be absolutely crucial, because Saturn and Sun's combination tends to bring in harsh speech, harshness in the behavior as well. The more you are going to act calm, the more you cultivate that sort of a thought process within you, it is going to help you navigate this situation quite peacefully. Yes, there could be a certain degree of dramatic event. However, it will not negatively harm you at your workplace, because Saturn also happens to be the lord of the 8th house. So that transformation, that dramatic change, probably at the leadership level, will not inflict you negatively, but it might instill a lot of fear. It might give you unforeseen, unknown fears as well. Remember, Saturn from here gives a third aspect to your 12th house. And the third aspect of Saturn is considered to be brutal. However, in this case, the positive is that those unknown enemies will not be gaining too much strength. Those unforeseen circumstances should not have a bigger repercussion coming your way. From a relationships perspective, Saturn is giving an aspect to your 4th house, your house of domestic peace, your mental and emotional peace, your connection with your mother, your primary assets, movable and immovable property. And the impact is also going to be on the 7th house, which denotes your partnerships, your spouse, your relationships. Now, the toxicity that you're going to face, the toxicity that you are going to face in the 10th house at your workplace might rub off at your home and in connection with your spouse as well. And this is what you'll have to be careful about. There could be situations of that harsh speech, that frustration, that anger also reflecting in your domestic environment. Therefore, your inclination towards being diplomatic, your intent towards being diplomatic becomes all the more crucial, as I was calling out earlier. It is going to be important for you to learn the art to leave your work away at the office. Do not mix up your personal and your professional life, or it can make things challenging all around. From a health perspective, you could see some mental and emotional stress also coming on you, because Saturn is giving an aspect into the 4th. But more importantly, you will have to be careful on your knees, on your joints. Your father's health might also require some bit of, in fact, both father and mother's health will require some bit of a reflection. But the impact on your mother could be more on the emotional side of things, while it could be generating a physical impact on your father's health because it represents your father as well, being the ninth lord. Now, the absolute remedy and caution that you have to remember is bite your tongue. Use the right choice of words, be diplomatic, use diplomacy to the core, be politically correct during this period. It is not the time where you have to stand up for your political beliefs. Any kind of argumentative situations on those regards must definitely be avoided. Similarly, you must avoid any kind of spiritual or religious debates as well during this period. If you believe on a certain thing, stick with that for your own life. This is not going to be the most opportune period to stand up for it, and especially standing up against somebody senior in terms of power or authority. From a remedy perspective, offering water to Surya, argha to Surya, or chanting Surya mantras is also going to be an excellent remedy for you folks, so that you are able to please the authority and you are able to maintain the right relationships required. Cancer, for you folks, you can watch this both from a Cancer Lagna as well as Cancer Moon standpoint. Now, Saturn happens to be the lord of your 7th house and 8th house, which is getting combusted in your 9th house of religion, political beliefs, gurus, teachers, mentors, your destiny, fate, and your father. And it is important because this combustion is happening into the house of Dharma. The crisis that is going to be coming into picture is going to be around your faith, around legal delays coming into life. We've got to understand that this is a period where you could feel that your luck is experiencing a temporary pause. Yes, Saturn is getting combusted, albeit being the lord of the 8th house in the ninth. Saturn's position in the ninth house is not bad as per my opinion and my understanding. However, any kind of unforeseen challenges that could have come in your life, any kind of difficult situations that could have arisen, especially with respect to your father, with respect to your gurus, teachers, mentors, your relationship with them, or impacting your career negatively, will actually be avoided with the combustion of Saturn. However, if you are waiting for some sort of a legal verdict, if you are anticipating some sort of an approval coming your way, maybe with respect to visa, maybe with respect to an admission into a college for postgraduate education, or with respect to long distance travel, you might find that there could be bureaucratic delays coming into play for that. There could be denial like situations as well, which might come into picture. And you must be careful on that front. From the lord of the 7th house of your business partnership, of your spouse and connection, getting combusted in the third is also indicating that the career and financial impact could be coming into your spouse's life as well. They could be making a lot of efforts, they could be moving around, traveling around, but it may not be resulting into the outcome that they could anticipate. And therefore, there is going to be an impact in your relationship front as well, because your spouse could show a lot of intensity. Hidden struggles could be coming into their life as well, and they might feel completely burnt out. You will have to be careful with respect to the health of your spouse, or support them emotionally, because their financial situation could also see an impact coming in during this period. You will have to be the support system. So the impact is less on you in this front, Cancerians, but more on your partner. Do not be criticizing, but create a positive environment, a situation where they can nourish themselves, because that is exactly what you are required to do from a relationship standpoint. Again, the intensity with which you would be undergoing any kind of transformation, or your interest towards spirituality, could also see some degree of reduction during this time. I would want to call out, especially for my student audience who are pursuing any kind of research or trying to learn something new, you might get this feeling that what is the point of doing all this effort and all this hard work? Well, it is going to be a period which is going to be testing your grit. It's going to be a period which is going to be testing perseverance and patience. And therefore, it is crucial that even while you might not see any relevant outcomes coming your way, please continue to push forward in whatever activities that you are doing, be it in terms of reskilling yourself, in the research, in your education, or in terms of your spiritual mindset, your spiritual belief system itself. From a health perspective, you could be marred with thigh and hip pains coming into picture. Doing some degree of exercise is going to be a relevant a remedy as well for you folks. I would want to draw your caution here that you must avoid any kind of confrontational situations with your clients, with your bosses, superiors, gurus, mentors, teachers. There could be some bit of a challenge that might come, a sudden plan with respect to long distance travel might have to be materialized. It could be both work related, or it could be for your spouse as well. You might not be very interested to undertake this travel, but circumstances will force you to undertake that journey and perform some work. My remedy here would be that involve yourself into some sort of a spiritual activity. It could be reading ancient text, it could be meditating to calm your mind during this period, and that is what is going to help you for the course of the next 37 days. Mind you, it is not a negative thing happening because your eighth lord is also getting into combustion. So, a lot of unanticipated, unexpected challenges that could have come in life, they would also see a diminishing impact in that front. However, for people who are looking for some sort of inheritance, shared wealth with your spouse, or challenges to your in laws, that is a probability. You could see reduction in your joint wealth. You could see an impact coming in your in law's life as well. But all in all, it is going to be giving mixed results for you during the course of this period, Cancerians. Now, Leos, you can watch this both from a Leo Lagna perspective as well as from Leo Moon Simha Rashi perspective. Guys, for you, Saturn happens to be your sixth lord and your seventh lord. And it is getting combusted in your eighth house of transformation and sudden events. It is like explosion of pressure cooker, but internally for you folks. Why do I say that? See, Saturn being the sixth lord positioned in your eighth house has been forming a Viparit Raj Yoga. And its combustion in your case is not a bad thing, because somewhere or the other it is indicating the sixth lord's strength is going to reduce, it's going to diminish during this period, and therefore the impact or the negative impacts with respect to health, with respect to your debts, with respect to your financial matters is going to see lesser of a problems during this period. However, your seventh lord is also positioned in the eighth and getting into combustion, which means impact is going to come towards your spouse. And that becomes crucial for you, Leos, to follow. First of all, from a career and finance perspective, eighth house denotes joint finances. It talks about taxes, inheritance. And I foresee some bit of challenges coming in that area because it's the sun which is placed, your Lagna Lord, in the eighth house. Luminaries going into the eighth house is not my favorite situation to be in, and Saturn is a difficult planet in the eighth house as well. Yes, he is the significator of longevity and in a way significator of the eighth house for that matter. But when sun is getting into that place, it's not an easy situation for your health, your vitality as well. The challenges would come with respect to joint finances. You could see some bit of a impact in your savings, especially from your spouse's end. Your spouse could also struggle for their financial matters or their health related matters as well. So you will have to provide that support financially as well as emotionally. This is a time where you could feel that the authoritative figures, governments, leaderships might be reviewing, might be auditing what you've submitted. So you will have to be absolutely good with your paperwork as well. But at the same time, your Lord of Partnerships is seeing its combustion in the eighth. and therefore some bit of a difficulty in your business life, in your business relationships, even if you are a working person with respect to the other party, because seventh house denotes everything opposite to yourself. Those kind of things can impact you. The good part is the challenges coming your way will see a diminishing impact too. Then, from a relationships perspective, as I said, it's a highly volatile period, especially for people who are married or who are in some sort of formal contractual business relationships as well. Because after all, the seventh lord itself is in the eighth house and combusted. This is a time where some sort of hidden secrets in marriage, some sort of business partnership might see an explosive turn of events. You might also have egotistical, ego driven fights, conflicts of interest coming into picture. Sun and Saturn combination tends to bring some degree of harshness as well. And therefore, the communication style, either from your side or more importantly, from your partner's, from your spouse's style, could also be detrimental to your relationship. So, practice caution on that front as well. Saturn sitting in the eighth house is giving a third aspect to your 10th house. And some of the challenges, the third aspect is considered to be the harshest one. So, some of the challenges that you were facing from a career front, well, you are going to find temporary relief on those areas as well. So, that's a positive shift as well of this combustion of Saturn. It's giving an aspect towards your second house. And therefore, be mindful of your communication to your family members, to your relatives, to your immediate near and dear ones. And from here, Saturn will give an aspect to your fifth house as well. There could be some degree of aloofness with your romantic partner, or some kind of a distance or expression of frustration coming in towards your children if you are a parent watching this video. This is a time from a health perspective, I will recommend continue to practice caution. Sixth lord is in the eighth house combustion. Yes, you will find relief on certain areas, especially if you have chronic issues. But there could be a sudden flare up of situation as well, thanks to your lung lord being in the eighth house. So it's not the Saturn impact which is going to be coming into picture, because I know many people will assume that it's because of Saturn since it's a Saturn video. Then you've got to be careful with respect to protecting your lower back and your digestive system as well during this period. From a remedy and caution perspective, guys, I would want to call out maintain 100% transparency with respect to your paperwork, taxes, inheritance related situations, or joint accounts that you are maintaining. Any kind of a glitch, false activity in those grounds might result into penalty or might bring in a lot of difference of opinion with your partners as well. Then, from a spiritual remedy perspective, I will recommend that this is a period where if you do any kind of spiritual activity, because Saturn is combusted in the eighth house, visiting a temple, reciting Hanuman Chalisa, Shani Chalisa for that matter, may not be a bad idea. In fact, for you folks, Leos, throughout the course of this transit of Saturn in the eighth house, you must continue to practice this thing. Virgos, you can watch this both as Virgo Lagna as well as from a Virgo moon standpoint or Kanya Rashi perspective. Now, Virgos, for you folks, Saturn happens to be the lord of your fifth house and your sixth house, and it is getting combusted in the seventh house of marriage, relationships, and business partnerships. And this is going to be a period where your ego or ego clashes could come into picture with your partners. Your romantic partners, your children could also see an impact coming into play. First and foremost, we have to understand that this is going to be a time from a career and finance perspective where your partners could exercise extreme ego. They could bring in a lot of stubbornness in their behavior. They could become arrogant or demanding towards yourself, and they would push you to the quarter because Sun is also present in the seventh house itself, and it is your Sun almost in a debilitated position, because that's a natural debilitation for Saturn coming into picture. But it will give an ego boost to your partner with your Saturn coming into combustion. Authoritative figures are going to be dominant during this period, and you'll have to be diligent on that front. If you are a person who is in a job because it represents your sixth house. If you are in a job, working somewhere, you could feel that your clientele are less appreciative of the effort that is going in. Now, it is absolutely crucial for you to remember that giving up during such tough period may not be the best alternative. You might find yourself unnoticed with your intellect, with your thought process. There could be a creative block as well coming into play in your workplace, or your hard work itself may not give the right fruits. But persistence is going to be crucial. This is a time on a good scheme of things, because the sixth lord is coming into combustion in the seventh. So people who are facing any kind of loans, litigations, or problems, there could be some diminishing impact of negative effects coming in your life from that perspective. But from a relationship standpoint, you could see the hardest hit coming in this area. People who are in romantic relationships, with Saturn's placement in the seventh, there is a very high chance during this 2.5 year stint that that relationship may materialize into a long term commitment. However, these 37 days are not the most opportune period from that perspective. As I had alluded earlier, from a relationship standpoint with your spouse or your business partners as well, the presence of Sun, which is burning your ability to compromise. Saturn denotes compromise, it denotes giving in, it denotes service, it denotes submission. That can get impacted. You could also see lack of servitude coming in from your end. You might start questioning your commitment towards the relationship, which might be frustrating to your spouse or your business partner. You might not find yourself very interested in doing which you were earlier, very okay in terms of offering with respect to your help. And it could be in any of the areas between how you and your partners are operating. It could be with respect to domestic responsibilities or with respect to, professional business roles. So look inwards and reflect from that perspective, because being persistent and patient with respect to what you've been doing so far is going to be challenging during these 37 days, but you will have to push yourself in that direction. Then, from a health perspective, there could be some bit of an impact coming in lower abdomen related areas. Stress because of lack of domestic peace, because Saturn is giving an aspect, combusted Saturn giving an aspect to your Lagna, as well as your fourth house of mental and emotional peace could come into picture. From a financial perspective, I missed calling out that the aspect of the Saturn is towards the fourth house as well. Therefore, not a opportune time for you to be investing into some big assets or buying any kind of property. Some kind of renovation requirement might require a repeat, because whatever you will do at home may not get the right fix. Now, the good part is that around all these situations, there is going to be some support coming in from the leadership, from the bosses, from the superiors, if you ask for that help and if you remain submissive, if you remain open to that feedback. The remedies and caution that I would want to draw here is, do not react. You have to respond to the demands, to the needs, or maybe I would say to the arrogance of your partner, to the arrogance of your spouse. Let this time pass. Let the storm pass, because they will settle down and they will see through their own actions as well. This is not going to be the most opportune period for you to be reacting to their behavior and creating more difficulties in your collaboration, in your relationship. One of the key activities for you to do would be to donate something. A spiritual activity, a spiritual remedy is going to be highly effective thanks to the third aspect. As I said, the third aspect's brutality is going to reduce. And therefore, your interest in spiritual or religious submission might increase during this period. So maybe giving in black lentils in a temple, in any place of worship, so that it can be consumed by more people. Giving food related to Saturn to people for consumption is going to be one of the most excellent remedies that you can practice during this period. Maybe just go out and do it one of the Saturdays through the course of this 38 day period. Now, Libras, you can watch this from a Libra rising as well as Libra moon Tula Rashi perspective. For you folks, Saturn happens to be a Yogakarka planet because he's your fourth and fifth lord. And therefore, its combustion in the sixth house is not one of the best things that's happening into play. What you are going to notice is that you will find yourself overworked, underpaid. You will find that your mental and emotional peace or your romantic relationships could see a sudden impact during this period, Libras. First and foremost, from a career and finance perspective, you will find that Saturn's combustion is happening in the house of enemies, in the house of service, in the house of health, hard work, daily schedule, and your regimen. And with that, it can disturb some of these areas of life. Some of you could find that your creative bend of mind, your knowledge is not coming into rescue at your work. And therefore, you will have to grind harder. You might have the understanding of what you are doing, but still find unexpected challenges coming your way. From a health perspective as well, there could be some bit of an impact coming into picture, and therefore you should be watchful of sudden fever-like situations, inflammation coming into play, or some sort of digestive issues like acidity, etc., impacting you, heartburn impacting you through the course of this period. But coming back from the sixth house, career and finance perspective, at the work front, in any competitive examination situations, there will be a scenario where you might not be finding at your fullest, at your best. And therefore, this is the best period for you to keep your heads down and be perseverant, persistent with what you're doing. Yes, Saturn is forming a strong Shatruganta Yoga in the sixth house, but it is combusted by Sun, which happens to be your 11th lord. And Sun and Saturn's present is a strong position to be in the sixth house. Two malefics placed in the sixth house is not a bad situation to be in. However, if you are trying to win over your enemies, if you are trying to win over in any competitive examination, if you are going to try to fight over any kind of litigation during this period, it will require tremendous amount of hard work, and it will be costing you your emotional peace or a cost of your wealth as well. And therefore, it is crucial, Libras, that you pick your fight, you pick your battles carefully during these 38-day period. You could find a creative block as well coming into picture, or ideas not working into fruition as they were working for you earlier. And therefore, taking a break with some of these creative pursuits may not be a bad idea. You could feel frustrated with your day-to-day activities and your mundane tasks. It would be challenging during the course of this period to maintain that consistent rhythm that you've been following for the past few months, Libras. But from a relationship standpoint, Saturn sitting here is aspecting your 12th house and your 3rd house. There is a strong chance that you could feel like isolating yourself. There could be certain bit of challenges coming into your siblings' life as well, or they could struggle with health related matters. From the 3rd aspect, Saturn is looking into the 8th house. And therefore, any kind of challenges that you are finding with respect to your in-laws or with respect to your spouse's family will diminish as well during this period. So it's not a bad situation to come into picture. I would want to remind that this is a time you would not want to engage in more of social activities, or your friends may not be inclined towards spending too much of time with you. So navigate those relationship aspects carefully, because this could happen for the sheer choice of words. Saturn and Sun combination tends to bring a harsh tone in our speech as well, which is what we'll have to be careful about. From a health perspective, as I said, Sun's presence is with this Saturn in the 6th house, but you will still have to be careful with respect to fevers or inflammation sort of situations. My word of caution for you Libras here will be, do not undertake any kind of new initiatives, especially creative pursuits. Be watchful towards the health of your kids as well during this period. Then, from a remedies perspective, you could look forward to serve elderly people. provide maybe donation sort of activities of medicines in a hospital, or donate something, gift something in your family itself to the elderly, which will help you channelize the negative effects of what you could be facing at your workplace, in areas of competition, or from your enemies. And that will have a positive strengthening strength towards your Saturn. Now, Scorpios, for you folks, Saturn happens to be the lord of your third house of hard work, courage, willpower, your siblings, and your fourth house of domestic peace, property, assets. And it is getting combusted in your fifth house of romance and intellectual. Now, the important bit for us to understand here is that you could feel a sudden hit with respect to your energy, with respect to your efforts coming into picture. From a career and finance perspective, I would want you to be careful that you could feel devoid of energy during this period. Your intensity with which you tend to work hard on your initiatives, on your projects, in the creative direction that you take, there could be some diminishing impact coming into play for you folks there. Then again, from a financial perspective, we've got to note that fifth house denotes our speculative investments like stock markets. And this is a point where your assets could see some degree of a decline. Now, that could be because of a government intervention, government regulation, war relations arising. Therefore, your assets or the value of the assets could see a temporary dip during this period. Now, my advice, Scorpios, is that do not get into any kind of a speculative mode during this period, because it might not be the most conducive thing for you to do. Saturn likes to stick with regularity, discipline, patience, perseverance. And that is exactly what you'll have to practice with respect to your investment strategies as well. So if you've been following something, do not deviate from that to explore an opportunity with a trader's mindset, because it might not give you the right outcomes as you desire. Then the other impact which is going to come into play is that some of your creative pursuits might not get due recognition or approval from your superiors, from your gurus, teachers, mentors. At your workplace as well, you will see some degree of a decline of, or a possibility of a decline of effort coming in from your side. However, the 10th Lord Sun is in your fifth house, which is very favorable for you. And therefore, it should not be impacting your relationship with people in a formal setup. From a communication standpoint as well, Mercury stands retrograde. And third Lord of communication, Saturn, being combusted, is indicating that some mistake with regards to your communication can come into picture from a formal setup perspective. So be careful, revise, look back into the emails, into the communication, into the speech that you are throwing out. People who are associated with social media, etc., you could see an impact coming into those areas as well, where there could be lack of growth coming into picture, lack of ideas coming in from your side as well. As we look further and talk from a relationship standpoint, well, this combustion is happening in the fifth house. And somewhere or the other, your romantic life could feel a bit frustrating during this period. However, the complications that were going wild will see some degree of a reduced impact too. And therefore, it's a positive bit. While there could be a lack of effort, there will be some degree of an attraction from the opposite party too. So you will find yourself navigating that much better than before, to be honest. From a children health perspective, or for people who are trying for the progeny, there could be some bit of a medical intervention required, either towards the health of your kids or with respect to efforts in that direction. Yes, the possibility of you conceiving during this period or planning to do anything with respect to the growth of your children is still very much possible. There is a possibility, though, that your old school traditional methods that you may want to deploy with your kids, with respect to your romantic partner, things that were working for you before may not be working in the same fashion, and therefore you might be looking out for alternatives. But the combustion is happening, after all, in the fifth house itself. The good part or the respite is, and we've got to see astrology holistically, Jupiter being the lord of your fifth house, albeit presence in the eighth, will become direct from 11th March. So some bit of improvement should come from that perspective. From a health standpoint, there is bound to be some degree of mental and emotional anxiety coming into picture. You have to be watchful of the health of your mother as well. Stomach heat and matters related to that could bother you during the course of this period. So be watchful for the next 37, 38 odd days in terms of your diet as well. Saturn from here is going to be giving a third harsh aspect into your seventh house, but its combustion is indicating that the difficulties that you are facing in your marriage, in your business partnerships are going to diminish. There are going to be some bit of positive gains as well coming into your life, and money expansion should happen as long as you are persistent. From a remedy perspective or from a caution perspective, I would want to say that do not try to control everything, because Saturn is about discipline, hard work, regularity, and therefore, to a certain extent, we want to manage everything within the confines of our capacity. Well, you might feel like loosening the grip on some of those areas. One of the best spiritual remedies that you can practice during this period is being a Scorpio, ruled person, that Hanuman Chalisa or chanting any Hanumana mantra during this 37, 38 day period is going to be very conducive for positive outcomes and strengthening you and your Rashi. Sagittarius, for you folks, you can watch this both from a Sagittarius Lagna as well as Dhanu Rashi Sagittarius moon perspective. For you folks, Saturn happens to be the lord of your second house and your third house getting combusted in your fourth house of your emotions, mother, home, your property, and your assets. Now, this is creating some bit of domestic challenges, especially with respect to your finances. The first and foremost, from a career and finance perspective, what I notice is that any kind of property deals, asset related purchase deals must be carefully evaluated. There's a potential chance that they automatically might get delayed or might have some sort of a bureaucratic impact during this phase. The deals might get stalled or delayed. Any kind of repair work, property transformation related work, any efforts that you are making in that direction is also going to see some bit of an impact coming. Your money that you've saved might not see the growth in terms of the investments that you are making, or the value of your assets in itself could see a temporary dip coming into picture during these 37, 38 days. There's a very strong possibility that some sort of a repair could be required at your home or on your vehicles. Remember, the third lord is getting combusted in your fourth house. This is a time where you practice caution whilst driving, whilst using any heavy machinery, or with respect to making any kind of trade deals with respect to real estate. Then, from a relationship standpoint, I anticipate that there is going to be some bit of an impact coming in from your home or from your emotions standpoint. After all, your second lord is becoming combusted in the fourth house. Your house, your home could be a war zone during this period because there could be severe ego clashes coming into picture. While Sun and Saturn, both of them are losing directional strength in the fourth house. And the ego represented by strength by Sun is gaining its strength over Saturn, over your family, near and dear ones, your younger siblings. Sun and Saturn's combination also tends to bring harshness in speech, and therefore you will have to be very careful in terms of your dominating behavior or your frustration that you spill over your family and your on your home front. With your mother's health as well, there could be some emotional impact or health related impact coming into picture. You might not feel the initiative or the intent to make an effort to fix things, but this is going to be much more detrimental in the long term. You will regret it from April onwards itself. So better don't walk in that path. Then we'll also have to understand that you could feel quite frustrated staying in your own house itself. You might want to step out And therefore, walking is going to be an excellent activity that you can follow. From a health standpoint, chest related congestion could come into picture. Cold related matters can be bothering you during this period. Heart palpitations could be coming into play. So be watchful on that front as well. You might have to spend your savings on your health checkup and on your remedies on that front. Saturn gives a harsh aspect to the sixth house with its third aspect. So you will have problems, but you will still be able to overcome those challenges. However, there is a possibility that your home related frustrations could get spilled over at your workplace as well. So be mindful of that. Do not separate your professional and your personal life for that matter, and do not let your personal affairs impact your professional performance. Saturn is giving an aspect to your Lagna as well, and you would be interested in exploring something new and not be just bound by the traditional thought process during this period to a certain extent, which is not a bad thing to happen. The caution that you will have to practice is that try and spend some time out of the house. Try and be more accommodating, empathetic in your communication. Walking is going to be one of the best remedies. Not involving yourself in any kind of high ticket vehicle or property real estate deals is crucial. And my warning would be careful whilst driving through the course of this period. Capricorn, you can watch this for Capricorn Lagna as well as Makar Moon, Capricorn Moon sign as well. Now, for you folks, it's your Lagna Lord, it's your Rashi Lord, which is coming into combustion in the third house, and he happens to be the Lord of your second house as well. And therefore, communication, courage is definitely coming into impact here. Well, the first and the foremost thing is that this is a period where you guys, Capricorn, could find yourself literally invisible. No matter what you do, it might not get the social recognition, even recognition in family. And therefore, you would feel what is the point of trying on certain areas. After all, Saturn is getting combusted in your third house. And there could be a severe lack of motivation, hard work coming into play, which is going to impact your career and finances. And you've got to notice that this combustion of your Lagna Lord or Rashi Lord is happening in the third house. You will have to be extremely careful whilst drafting your formal communication, those webinars, emails, pitches that you make, social media reach outs, representation of yourself in a large scale, and thereby some bit of a negative impact, negative connotation could get associated for you folks. At the same time, you could find yourself being misunderstood based on what you are trying to communicate. So do not let that frustration mount on you, resulting into much harsher impact, because Saturn and Sun's combination tends to bring harshness in our communication and speech as well. The good part is that these two malefics are placed in the third house. So, whilst there could be a tendency of giving up, you will still gather yourself and make a comeback, which is very crucial for you during the course of these 37, 38 days. You are going to put tremendous amount of efforts in your sales, marketing, social collaboration sort of efforts. However, zero immediate returns are going to come into picture. As I said earlier, you might find yourself invisible of sorts. Guys, this is the time for you to be patient, because things are going to start rolling after some time. And therefore, your persistence is going to be crucial throughout this period. From a finance perspective as well, it's your second lord which is coming into combustion. Either your savings could get impacted, or the gains that you are anticipating might see a diminishing outcome there as well. The good part is that you will be able to keep a check on your expenses as well. Saturn is giving a third harsh aspect towards your fifth house, but its combustion is indicating that from a relationship standpoint, any kind of issues coming in with your romantic partner or with your children will have a lesser of an impact there. However, because this combustion is happening in the third house itself, your siblings or your neighbors might have some bit of a conflict coming in with you, and you might have an argumentative situations with them as well. Again, please control your speech, because the second lord in combustion is indicating that you might not realize that when you are hurting your near and dear ones and pushing them away from you. The other bit that you will have to notice here is that Saturn is giving an aspect towards your ninth house as well. Travels, etc., will have some degree of an impact. Unwanted travels could come into picture, which might require a lot of effort from your side. You could feel tired during this period as well, and they may not be delivering the right outcome as you anticipate. But any kind of miscommunication that arises during this period with your superiors, bosses, elders, with your fatherly figure will eventually get sorted out as well. So do not let any kind of panic or fear instill in yourself. Then, from a health perspective, I anticipate because your first lord itself is getting combusted, there is going to be a feeling of burnout. There is going to be a sense of frustration. You could feel that there is a lot on your plate to do, or you are being pushed to the zilt, but you are not getting immediate outcomes. Well, this is crucial for you to understand that you will have to define those boundaries, that timetable for yourself. Because if you do not do so, the lack of outcomes coming in you, and Capricorn, you are a hard working herd, you are a hard working zodiac. And therefore, it becomes very challenging when you don't see the outcomes. You continue to work non stop. Plus, the presence of both these planets is in the third house itself. So, whilst on one side of the spectrum, you could have the feeling of lack of energy, lack of enthusiasm in you, but at the same time, your eighth lord is 8 places away from itself in the third house, which is indicating that there is going to be that continuous push as well within you. From a health perspective, be watchful of your shoulder, neck, arms, those kind of areas as well, because you could have some sort of an injury while playing sports, while working out. That scenario would also come into picture. I would want you to be careful whilst driving as well during this period. From a caution perspective, as I said, do not exert yourself too much. However, the best remedy that you can practice is being patient. Perseverance is not something that I'm worried about, you Capricorns. You are perseverant lot inherently. But patience is crucial because your Lagna Lord, your Rashi Lord itself is weak during this period. Doing some kind of a charitable activity, making any kind of, you know, gift like gestures or act of service towards the elderly through the course of these 37-38 days is going to be an excellent remedy for you folks. Aquarius, you can watch this from a Aquarius Lagna as well as Aquarius Moon who are impacted by Sade. Now, Saturn happens to be the lord of your first house as well as your 12th house, denoting spirituality, expenses, foreign land, and of course, your first house, which is yourself, your identity, your health, your physical body in itself. And that is getting combusted in the second house of wealth, of speech, of your family, near and dear ones. And this is a time where you could feel some degree of a financial squeeze. Rather, I must say financial freeze. And the reason I say that is because it is getting combusted in your second house, being the lord of your 12th. Yes, let's deep dive into the career and finance aspect of things. Your Lagni Lord or your Rashi Lord is getting burnt in your house of savings, your wealth, your bank account. And therefore, you could feel that there is some degree of decline coming in your wealth. But at the same time, the good thing which is going to come into picture is that you are going to be proactive in terms of managing your losses. Cutting on your expenses as well could come into play. And therefore, the balance is going to be oscillating through the course of these 37-38 days because you are going to try and navigate in terms of managing what you have and not letting go on the other side of the spectrum what you can spend or what you can have in terms of losses. This is a time where you might not be making some of the most judicious calls with respect to investments. So I would want you to be careful on that front as well from a financial aspect, because Saturn from here combusted is giving an aspect towards your fourth house. And this means that the impact could come with respect to your asset values, or the choice of your investments could also go wrong. So do not be speculative with your mindset there. Your cash flow definitely could feel certain bit restricted, and therefore I said freeze or squeeze of sorts is going to come into picture. Sun is positioned in your second house, being the seventh lord, and authority or government figures could be coming and bothering with respect to taxes. Inheritance related matters could get impacted, or there could be a sudden power shift coming at your home with respect to the choice of words. Saturn and Sun conjunction with respect to speech is also not a great thing. From a relationship standpoint, you could feel that there is a lack of self worth. Your partner, your business partner, or your spouse could come across domineering to you. And this could be for the sheer reason that there could be a lack of service attitude, lack of collaboration from your side as well. So the blame should not be falling just on your partners or on your spouse, but you might have to self reflect. In fact, being open about this communication and expressing your thought process is going to be crucial. As I said, your speech could also become highly aggressive or authoritative. So be mindful on that front. But at the same time, you could turn defensive in the same argument. After all, Saturn, which denotes you yourself, is going to become combusted. And the critical bit for us to understand here is that egotistical behavior, even though you might not be sure of certain subject, certain argument that you are having, might create further complications. Avoid those kind of situations. If you're not confident of something, if you're not in agreement, present your ideas quite openly. From a food standpoint, be watchful of your diet, because that can go wrong and impact your health as well. Dental issues, issues related to your throat or eye infections could come into picture. It's your first lord which is getting combusted in the second house, and therefore that impact. But at the same time, I anticipate some of you could be feeling a lot of burnout and stress also coming into picture. It's an important time for you. The aspect of Saturn is falling into the 11th house as well. And it's the combusted Saturn. Therefore, some gains, some wish fulfillment that you anticipated might materialize for you might take some degree of time. And in your case, I'm stating this because you will understand that it's your Lord or your Rashi Lord could be trying to support you. From a Sade Sati perspective, though, you will find a positive relief as well during this period. You will find that some things that were keeping you stuck are now losing momentum, and you are in the last phase of Sade Sati Aquarius. I think this is going to be a period you will be able to navigate things better from an emotional and physical turmoil perspective. Now, my word of caution would be that avoid any kind of big ticket investments, any big ticket purchases, any kind of real estate investment or speculative investments. That might not be the right or the most opportune thing to do. You must look forward to conserve your cash, to preserve your bank account through the course of this period. As a spiritual remedy, given that Saturn is in that 2-8 axis, so the 8th is also getting impacted, would be that give away some sweets, some food items to the people who are needy, to elderly. Just gifting a box of sweets in this festive season may not be a bad idea at all. Pisces, you can watch this from a Pisces Lagna as well as Pisces Moon Mean Rashi perspective, who are undergoing the second phase of Sade Sat. Now, for you guys, Saturn happens to be your 11th Lord and your 12th Lord. So it represents gains as well as expenses and losses, and it is getting combusted in your first house itself on top of your natal moon if you're watching from a Rashi perspective. Now, guys, the impact is going to be coming. The entire weight of the world is going to feel light, if I may say, for certain reasons. First of all, from a career and finance perspective, Sun happens to be the 6th Lord. which is right now burning or which is glowing in your Lagna itself, combusting your Saturn. And this indicates that you are going to face tremendous amount of competition, expectation at your workplace with respect to your service, and that will become your top priority as well. However, with respect to the efforts that you are putting in, the gains that you are anticipate are also going to be feeling like choked or blocked by some or the other daily crisis, some or the other hurdle coming into picture, unexpected challenges coming into play. Whilst these challenges are going to be numerous in number, yet the magnitude or the difficulty level, if I may say crudely, is not going to be something that you will not be able to overpower. So it is going to give you mixed results from that perspective. The second bit is from a finance perspective as well, you could feel certain degree of a squeeze. Your income can see an impact, but you will also be smart enough to navigate sharply when it comes to your expenses. My recommendation is, Pisces, that this is not the most opportune time for making speculative investments, because that might be backfiring after all your 12th lord is coming into combustion in the first house. This is also a period where you might not feel extremely comfortable with your sleeping habits, or you could have insomnia sort of situations from a health perspective. And therefore, from a health standpoint, I will say it's a high alert situation. But the good part is, again, it's giving a mixed results. There are certain challenges, but certain positive outcomes coming into picture, that the vitality for you, at least as long as sun is there in the first house itself, is going to get controlled, because you will have some bit of a positive impact there. You could feel a lot of heat developing in your body. Physical habits with respect to your day-to-day activities in your day-to-day regimen, you will have to be careful on that front, because you could feel a lot of fatigue after a certain point of time. You could be impacted by headaches or maybe a weakened immune system as well, if you are not able to maintain healthy habits. And I want to call out, it's the conjunction of sun and Saturn which is bringing this extremeness in terms of everything that we can anticipate for you folks, Pisces. So there are both positive as well as negative impacts coming into picture. From a health perspective, whilst there could be physical challenges coming into play, nothing would be as severe which requires severe medical or health related expenses, but it can still take a toll on your body. It can still take a toll on your day-to-day lifestyle in your activities. From a relationships perspective, this is a time where you could feel frustrated or irritable, but at the same time there is going to be some bit of lack of effort or some bit of a calmness coming in, laziness, procrastination sort of thing coming into picture, where you could just want to follow a certain rhythm and not use your brain too much. And I don't know if I'm making sense as I explain this, but as we are chasing certain goals, we are very structured and organized in our planning, and we are usually setting KPIs, certain goals for ourselves to track as to how we are doing on a day-to-day basis. Well, this is a month, these are the 37 odd days where you would just want to follow a rhythm and not worry too much about the outcomes, because that might not be in your control as well. This is a time where you will feel that some bit of that internal frustration might reflect upon your spouse as well. So be watchful, because Saturn and Sun, both of them will be giving an aspect to your 7th house. It's going to be a period decent for you to cultivate new habits, picking up new activities, new hobbies. Your siblings could also see some bit of a positive impact coming into picture. In fact, the challenges, especially for the Pisces moon people that you are facing at workplace, they might diminish as long as you are able to stick to a rhythm from your sun's placement perspective. There will be some shift as we move ahead over weeks on that aspect as well. From a caution perspective, what I would want to highlight is that prioritize your physical health during this period, and that could best happen if you are able to maintain your sleep cycle, if you are able to fight through insomnia, sleep well, hydrate yourself pretty well, and meditate, because that is going to regenerate you. I think this is going to be a period of calm and peace for the Sade impacted people who've been going through a lot of turbulence of the presence of Saturn right on the head. Now, last but not the least, I think for you folks as well, one of the best remedies will be to incorporate something of a spiritual activity. It could be chanting of Hanuman Chalisa. It could be giving water, or arg to sun. But donating something on Saturdays might be one of the best things that you can do from a practical remedy perspective. Folks, this transit of Saturn and its combustion thanks to Sun is indicating that all of us could feel some bit of an impact. We could feel almost like invisible with respect to the efforts that we are making, or with respect to a shift in the outcomes that we can anticipate. But the important bit for us is to be patient, perseverant, following the discipline. And that is what Saturn expects, so that we can strengthen the positive impact of Saturn in our chart. If you've enjoyed the insights and the thought process that I've brought in this video, I'll request you folks to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Dave Astrology, and keep watching. Dave.